Okay, welcome everybody back. Today we are going to be finishing Sefer Shmuel Bet, the last three chapters, Chaf Bet through Chaf Daled. Much of this is poetic songs of David, but we'll try to do our best. So Chaf Bet starts with, or is completely actually, Shirat David, the songs of David. That when Hashem, like for example, look at the first pasuk, David la Hashem et divrei hashira azot biyom hitzil Hashem oto mikaf kol evav u'mikaf Shaul. When Hashem saved him from all of his enemies and from Shaul. So the Mefarshim debate whether this was written towards the end of his life, where we are right now in the historical timeline of David's life, or he would say this every time. After a salvation, he would sing this song every time. Either way, this is a very famous song. It's also found almost word for word in Tehillim. So the way to break down this Shirah, I took it from Sefer Dat Mikra, right, one of the most important Perushim, modern Perushim for sure, on the Tanakh. So my summary will be based on that. So first there's a pticha. First there's an introduction that Hashem, David says, Hashem is my machsi, meaning my protector. And then it discusses the tzara, the troubles that David went through, and his tefillah, his prayer for Hashem to help him. And then starting from Pasuk Chet, we have Gilui Shekhinah, the fact that Hashem reveals his Shekhinah, his divine presence. Hashem saves David from all of his enemies. Then it talks about the Midot Hashgacha V'Gedareah, I mean the different Midot characteristics of divine providence and its definition. And these psukim are quite, poetic and need to be explained word for word. Literally, every word needs to be explained. But we don't have time for that right now. Everyone's going to learn it on their own. Hashem helps David throughout all of his wars. Right, you see that in Pasuk Lamed Gimel, Hakel Ma'uzi Chayil, right? My strength in battle. Etc. A lot of these psukim you will recognize again from Tehillim and from other places. It also talks about towards the end of the parak that Hashem has established and strengthened David's kingship and made it greater and greater as time went on. And then at the very end of the parak, starting Pasuk Mem Zayin, we have a real, basically a summary of all the Yeshuot that Hashem did, all the salvations that Hashem did for David. And then look at Pasuk Gimel, we read Nun and Aleph, Al Kain Odecha Hashem B'Goyim U'Shivcha Zamer. Therefore, I will praise you, thank you, Hashem, amongst the nations, so that everyone understands that everything I have is from you, Hashem. U'Shivcha Zamer, and I will sing to your name. And then something we say in benching in our Birkat Hamazon, our grace after meals every day. Migdol Yeshuot Malko, right? Hashem is like a tower of salvation for his king, meaning me, David. Chesed limshito, and he does chesed, kindness, for his anointed one, again referring to himself. The David Zaro Adolam, David and his servants and his offspring forever and ever. Because don't forget, Hashem promised David that he is going to be the eternal king of the Jewish people, meaning him and his descendants. Then Parak Chaf Gimel also begins with a shirah. It says Divrei right, Vela Divrei David Ha'acharoni. Let's read the first pasuk, right? These are the last words of David. Ne'um David ben Yishayu, Ne'um HaGever Hukam Al. These are the words, these are the speeches, this is the speech of David ben Yishai, the person who was Hukam Al, who was raised up. Mashiach Elokei Yaakov is the anointed one of the God of Yaakov. And now there's a very famous phrase, Uni'im Zemirot Yisrael. David is known as the Ne'im Zemirot Yisrael, which means that the one who sings, writes beautiful, pleasant, Na'im means pleasant, songs to God. Tehillim, right? That's what Tehillim is all about. It's praise of Hashem. And then we have a nevuah. David basically is expressing a nevuah about the everlasting nature of David's kingship. That David, as I said before, David is going to be the king of Israel forever and ever. Some say that these psukim, Bad Gimel Dalet Hey, those psukim and a few other psukim are talking about David himself. David is talking about himself, and others say it's referring to the Melech HaMashiach, the eventual messianic king who is going to come and save the Jewish people. Either way, it's praise or it's an nevuah about the fact that David and his descendants are going to be in power, kings over the Jewish people forever. In Pasuk Vav, it talks about how the Rishaim, to contrast it, the Rishaim, the evil ones, are going to be destroyed by Hashem. And then, starting Pasuk Chet, starting from Pasuk Chet, we have a very interesting section. That finishes Divrei David Acharon, that nevuah about his eternal kingship. And now we start, as you see in Pasuk Chet, Ele Shmot HaGiborim Asher David. It gives a whole list of Giborim, of warriors, of great heroes of David's time who were with David. And it, as we'll see at the very end of the Pasuk, it lists 37 of them. And there are basically three categories. There's the three greatest ones. Then there's the three medium warriors of David, and then there's the 30 that come after that. Okay? And each time it talks about the great acts of heroism that they did. So we start off with Adino Ha'etzmi. Adino Ha'etzmi was the top of the top. He was the top of the three. He killed 800 people in one swoop, one shot. He was able to kill 800 people. That's how strong and cunning he was. After him is Elazar ben Dodo. Dodo is a name. And it tells about how he stood up against the Plishtim, and he smote so many of them as if the sword stuck to his hands. He was like, he couldn't take his hands off of the sword, and he just killed many Plishtim all at once. That was Elazar ben Dodo. Then the next one, Pasuk Yud Aleph, Ba'acharav Shama ben Agei Harari. Harari means from the mountain. Shama, he was great. He was also a great warrior. And it talks about a situation where the Plishtim were numerous troops of the Plishtim, and they were in a field that was filled with lentils, and all the Jews ran away because they were afraid of the Plishtim. And then how he stood in the middle of this Chelkah, how do you say, this piece of land, and he saved it from the Plishtim, and he smote the Plishtim, and Hashem did a great salvation to him. Okay. Then, those are the top three. Okay, again, let's repeat it. Adino Ha'etzmi, Elazar ben Dodo, and Shama ben Agei. Then you had another three, and depending on the Mefarshim, depending on how you interpret it, their names are given or not necessarily given. Okay, and the story about their gevura is, their strength is that David, in one of the battles, David was very thirsty, and he asked them to bring him water. He said that he's going to give a reward for anybody who brings him water from this Plishti city in Beit Lechem. I think it was in Beit Lechem, right? Yeah, before there was a well in Beit Lechem, which was controlled by the Plishtim at the time, and he said, whoever can bring me this, the water from there, I will, he will be rewarded. And these three Giborim, again, not clear who they are. We'll get to that in a few minutes. They broke through into the Plishtim, defenses. They drew water for David, and then they came out and brought it to David. The problem was that David refused to drink them, and instead libated them, poured them out to Hashem. Why did he do that? Because he felt that it was gotten by putting these people's lives in danger, and he didn't feel. Look at Pasuk Yudzayin. Hashem me'asoti zot hadama anashim ha'olchim benafshotam. Right? What am I gonna drink from the blood? As if to say the blood, the possible blood that could have been spilled of these people who risked their lives for this. Okay, so those are the next three, and now it talks about the great deeds of salvation or of strength that Avishai ben Tzeruya did. Right, Avishai ben Tzeruya, we know him. He's the brother of Yoav. He killed 300 Plishtim. I think it's Plishtim. Doesn't say who, but 300 enemy soldiers. And then it says that here's where things start getting a little bit complicated. It says below in Pasuk Yudchet, below Shem Bashlosha. He has a name amongst the three. The problem is, which three are we talking about? Are we talking about the first three, the next three? Is he one of the middle three? He can't be the one of the first three because those names were given. But is he one of the second three? Some say yes. And so if you look at Pasuk Yutet, Min HaShlosha Hachi Nichbad, right? Of the three, meaning of the three middle three, the second group of three, he was the greatest. But he was not as great as the first three. So it does seem that he was one of the middle three, but we don't give all the names, but Avishai, was one of them. Then it talks about from Pasuk Chaf, Benayahu ben Yehoyada. He also did amazing acts of strength, of courage. He killed two officers of Moab, and he also killed a lion in a well on a very cold, snowy day. Obviously, Chazal have drashot on these psukim what exactly it's really referring to, but simple pshat is that he did this great act of strength by killing a lion and killing Moabite officers. And then it says, "Vuika et Ishis 3 in Pasuk Chaf Aleph Ish Mareh." There was this very scary-looking Egyptian guy, and he killed him. Or basically, he stole the other guy's spear and he used it to kill him. So those were the acts of strength of Benayahu ben Yehoyada. And then it says here at Pasuk Chaf Bet, "V'lo Shem Bashlosha Giborim." He also has a name within the three. Which three? The middle three, or because we're going to get to 30 in a second. That's why I'm calling them middle. The second three that we so far have read about. And then it says in Pasuk Chav Gimel, I'm just showing you that it's complicated here. Mina Shloshim Nichbad. He was more Nichbad. He was more glorious, honorable than the 30 that we're going to list in a minute. But he was not amongst the three. That implies that he was not one of the three middle ones. right? Vayisineo David al Mishmato, and David made him his whatever one, his officers. Then we have Pasuk of Dam. Asael Achi Yoav, when we saw him, he was killed by Avner. Asael Achi Yoav Bashloshi, he's one of the 30. And then it gives a whole list. Elchanan, Shama, just the next 10, even more psukim are just lists of names of people. And then look at the last pasuk, Uyachiti, he was one of them. Uyachiti was one of the 30. Kol, meaning all together, Shloshim Veshiva, 37. And as I said, the Mefarshim have a field day or have a real serious debate here of who are the 30, how do you get to 37? Because if you count everybody, you have three, then Benayo, then Asael, and Abishai, and 30, actually the 31 in these psukim here, if you count Asael, and it's very complicated. I'm just going to leave it at that. Very complicated how you get to the number 37. So some again say that Benayahu, or I'm sorry, Abishai and maybe also Benayo are part of it, are the three middle ones whose names weren't given, so they were. And again, very complicated. All you have to know is that there's 37 altogether. There was the top three, middle three, and then 30. Again, or 31. Somehow we get to the number 37 altogether. That is Perek of Gimel. Perek of Dalit, the last Perek in Shmuel. So it says, let's read the first pasuk together. It's very important. Yosef, Haf, Hashem, Lacharot Israel. God once again got angry at the Jewish people. Mepharshim explain what, in addition to what. Some say it was because of, if you remember, we had the famine, because of the Givonim, because of a shoulder the Givonim. So some say that's what it means. In addition to that, Hashem, in a different place, got angry at Israel. It doesn't say what the Israel did. Some say it was some sin. It doesn't say what, and it's not public knowledge what it was, but there was some hidden sin that Bnei Israel were doing, and therefore Hashem wanted to punish them. And look what it says. It's a very important. Yaset et David. Sounds like simple reading that he enticed David, God. Look, so far we had Hashem. Yaset et David bahem. He incited David against them, the Jewish people, and more. Lech Bnei Israel v'Yehuda. Go and count Bnei Israel and Yehuda. Now, counting Jews is a very bad thing to do. It brings plague upon the Jewish people. It brings death and destruction. We don't do that. It's the only way we ever count the Jews is by giving them machatzit shekel, and then you count the shkalim, but not the Jewish people themselves. But according to this, Hashem, why should David be taken? Because we're going to see the rest of the pasuk, the parak is that David gets punished, and the Jewish people get punished because David counted them. But if it says that God is the one who incited him to do this, so why should he get punished? God basically forced him to do it. So therefore, all the Mefarshim explain, but Yaset et David means that David himself enticed himself. David convinced himself that we need to count the Jewish people, and that is against the Torah. And that's why Hashem got angry. Again, it's a little bit problematic in the pasuk to fit it into the pasuk, but that's what you have to say, because if not, it's a real serious hashkafic philosophical question. How could God punish David when he forced him to do it? So anyway, so David commands Yoav to go and count all the Jews who go throughout Eretz Israel and count the Jewish people. Yoav tries to convince David and said, "Why are you doing this? This is not a good thing to do." And David, nonetheless, doesn't listen to Yoav, and he sends them out, and it describes in the next few psukim the exact route they took, and which places they went to count people. Bottom line, they come back to Yerushalayim after almost 10 months, 9 months, 20 days, Siyur, I don't know how to say Siyur in English, tour of Eretz Israel, counting the Jewish people. And already right when they come back, at pasuk Yud already, David has regret. He has regret. He realizes what he did was wrong. And look what it says in pasuk Yud. A little bit into the pasuk, Vayomer David al Hashem chatati ma'od asher asiti. I sinned greatly for what I did. V'ata Hashem ha'aver na tavon avdecha. Please get rid of this sin. Ki niskalti ma'od. I did very foolishly. David got up in the morning and Hashem had spoken to God Hanavi, God the prophet, the night before, and he told God what to tell him. And basically, this is the message. David, I'm going to give you a choice of one of three things. I'm going to give three punishments. You decide which punishment you should get. Either 7 years of famine, 2, 3 months of running away from enemies, from your enemies, and the third one is 3 days of plague, dever, plague, pestilence. A plague is going to kill thousands and thousands of people. So guess which one David chooses? It's actually something we say every single day in davening. It's in the what we call Tachanun. It's what starts Tachanun. Pasuk Yudalid. Vayomer David el Gad. Tsar li ma'od. I'm in great distress right now. But nitlana biyad Hashem. Let us, me, right, fall into the hands of God because of all those three punishments. The last one, Deborah, was a godly punishment. I guess Ra'av is also, but not as much. Dever is directly from Hashem. Therefore, I'd rather fall into the hands of Hashem. Ki rabim rachamav. Hashem is very merciful. Will be at Adam alapola. I do not want to fall into the hands of Adam. Maybe the Rav is also Me'ed Hashem, but the Rav of 7 years as opposed to a Dever of 3 days. Maybe he said that it makes more sense to do a 3-day Dever, even though obviously many more people are going to be dying per day, but it's not going to be as drawn out. So anyway, he chooses the third one. And Hashem sends a plague. 70,000 people die. And look at the pasuk that Hashem Dever b'Yisrael boker about 8 moed. And all the Mefarshim explain that based on Chazal, that in reality it didn't even last 3 days. God had Rachmanus, as David said, Ki rabim rachamav. Hashem is very merciful, and he even didn't do it for 3 full days. So what does Hashem do? Hashem is mitnachem. He has Rachmanus on the Jewish people, pity, and he stops the Malach HaMavet, the Malach HaMashchit, this destructive angel. He stops him in where? Goren HaAravna, right? The Goren of Aravna HaYevusi, which we know today as Harabai, Haramoria. That was owned by Aravna HaYevusi. Now, Yevusi doesn't mean either. Some say that he converted from being a Jebusite, he converted to Judaism. But let's go with that one, okay? But he was a Jew. He converted to Judaism, but he owned this piece of land. That was in Yerushalayim. David sees this angel, but how? He sees the angel and he begs of Hashem to punish him. Say, God, forget it. Don't hurt the rest of the Jewish people. They didn't sin. I sinned. Smite me. Don't smite the Jewish people. God, the Navi, says to him, in the name of God, of course, I want you to make a mizbeach, an altar, right here on this spot. That's the spot of the altar on Harabayit in the Beis Hamikdash. That's exactly on the place of Aravna HaYevusi. David goes in to do this. Aravna, the owner of the place, sees him and bows to him and says, what can I do for you? David explains that he is coming, he wants to buy this piece of land in order to build a mizbeach on it, in order to stop the Magifah. In other words, basically Hashem was saying, I will stop this Magifah if you build a mizbeach for me on Goren Aravna. And Aravna says, no, you don't have to buy it. I'll give it to you for free. Everything, and plus I'll give you wood, and I'll give you animals to bring up as korbanot. Everything. I'll give you everything for free. David refuses to take it for free, and he pays money for the plot, and he gets the plot. And the Sefer ends with the words, "Vayiven sham David mizbeach laHashem vayal elot shlamim." He brings all types of korbanot on the mizbeach. Vayeater Hashem la'aretz, and Hashem accepted the prayers. And Vate'atzar ha'magifah me'al Yisrael, the plague stopped from the Jewish people, and that's how the Sefer ends. And I will just point out, I've said this many times, that this is one of the three places that it says explicitly in the Tanakh that we bought it and it's ours. There's Marat HaMachpelah, there's Shechem, where Yaakov bought it, and there's the Makom HaMikdash that David HaMelech bought explicitly with money, cold cash, and it's to show us that these places belong to the Jewish people, and no one can claim that it's not ours. No one can claim and say it belongs to the Goyim. We stole it from them. We didn't steal it from them. We bought it. We bought it. That's why David refused to take it for free, because he wanted it to be recorded explicitly that he bought it, the place, and it is his for Am Yisrael, of course. And this is where eventually the Beit HaMikdash is going to be built. Starting on Sunday, we're going to start Sefer Melachim. So join us then. Bye bye.